This is Made for More Living with Johnny Jennings, powered by eXp Realty. Online at madeformoreliving.com.
Margaret, we were just talking off the air about pre-opening escrow, and Matt, you had some questions about that. I thought everybody did this, but apparently not all agents pre-open escrow. This blows my mind.
So first, let's clarify for those that are listening and are not aware of that jargon. What does pre-open mean?
Yeah.
A pre-open is when you guys have a seller, realtors have a seller, and they're ready to want to put the property on the market, and then they send us the information to get it open to order the preliminary title report. Mm-hmm. So this way we can see, again, what's on title, who owns it, make sure we have the right people signing the listing agreement, the contract, and that way everything's ready when you do get into contract.
That's smart.
So we call it a pre-open.
Yeah.
So it's being proactive.
Right.
Clearing everything before we get into contract. So that way if we have a quick close coming up, we have everything ready and we're ready to go.
There you go.
So that's one of the reasons why we're able to close so quickly on many of these deals, because much of the legwork has been done in advance, either for the underwriting if they're getting a loan. So that's with the JJ Mack team, like they're fully underwritten, right? Uh-huh. Or if or whether it's pre-open if it's an escrow deal.
Yeah.
So I tried calling Valerie a while ago, and she never answers the phone.
It's only from you. She always answers my calls.
She always answers
Me too.
And she'll answer Margaret's call.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this is
She dreads my calls though.
So let's see if this works. Hey Valerie, we're on the radio show.
Oh, did she call?
Yeah.
Oh, hi.
Hey, so we're here with Margaret Harris, and I was trying to remember the story about the one that the people were in their U-Haul and they were traveling, and she was able to get it closed really quickly. It was years ago. Do you remember that one?
How long ago was it, you think?
Maybe 2018, 2019.
She's not going to remember.
Oh, okay.
Sounds like she's typing.
Well, I am driving, yeah, but...
Wait a minute. Typing and driving.
Wait a minute.
Oh, crap. Hang up the phone.
No.
I don't know what you want me to say.
It's fine. It's fine. I didn't know if you remember. I was trying to remember it anyways. But there's been two people who Valerie is like, do not, because I like, trying new things and testing things out. And she's like, and we're always hit up by other reps and other escrow officers saying, hey, please bring your business. We'll do a great job. And Valerie has been like, Johnny, do not mess with Margaret. Margaret is fantastic. Is that right, sweetheart?
Yeah.
We love you, Val.
And my TC. Those are the two people you can't take away.
Yep. Margaret and the TC. All right, sugar, drive safe.
No more typing.
So that's how good Margaret is. But man, where were we running with that? So the pre-open, it's done. We're able to close quickly, and you're able to see all these things up front. But like sometimes there's you pre-open and then you enter into the transaction, and you don't really know what that buyer's all about as an escrow officer. If you don't really know, and that's kind of what happened to you with this cash deal, right?
Yeah.
Like so walk us through that. The agent was representing both the buyer and the seller. This was not us, by the way. This is somebody else.
Yeah, it was a new agent to me.
Okay.
And it was our first deal together.
Oh boy.
And it was a cash sale, and it was, I want to say, like a 14-day close.
Okay. And
he was representing both the buyer and the seller.
That's a red flag to me. I don't like that. Do you like it when agents do that, or is it not a big deal to you?
This situation made me not like it.
Okay.
So I think this was one of my first situations where I had the agent representing both sides.
Okay.
And it's sketchy.
Yep. And because what ended up happening?
Because the agent is supposed to have the best interest for both buyer and seller. And in this situation, we had gotten into contract with a cash buyer who lived out of state but was down here visiting and wanted to buy the property.
Okay.
Him and his girlfriend, I think it was. And we had the earnest money deposit that is due in 3 days after the contract is, accepted. And I couldn't get the earnest money deposit. So I was, emailing, trying to call, leaving messages. The buyer would only respond via email. I would never talk to him on the phone.
That's weird.
Yeah, that was sketchy
That's a
as
red
well.
flag,
yeah, agreed.
And that's what makes me mad about so you're doing necessarily that buyer's agent's job or that listing agent's job. Where's the MD? Where's the MD? Where's the MD? If somebody doesn't submit the MD within a certain period of time, like, okay, we're gonna be following up. We're gonna be following up with that buyer's agent. We're gonna be following up with the lender. We're like, what the heck's going on here? And we're also going to at some point submit a notice to perform, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like if you can't provide the EMD, how are you going to provide, like the EMD is typically 1%. If you can't provide 1%, how are you going to pay for the rest of the house?
Exactly.
That's a huge red flag. So no EMD, it's a quick close. It's 14-day escrow. You can't get a hold of the buyer. What ended up happening?
Well, I reached out to the agent to find out, where's the EMD, and at this point, I think this was day 5, so it was due day 3, so we were on day 5, and I had been emailing and calling, the agent as well, and so he finally got back to me and said, we're just going to do an addendum saying that the EMD is going to come with the closing costs. So when the buyer brings in their closing funds, then the EMD would be included. So
how often do you see that?
Very rare.
Yeah, that sounds
very rare.
That sounds stupid.
Yeah, I agree. I've seen it a couple times with like family sales, which understandable, I guess, but
I'm like,
it's still sketchy.
Yeah.
Like I still want that money in escrow. I mean, that's my job as well to make sure that you guys have everything you need for the contract.
Yep.
So in the end, the seller called because he wanted to sign his closing documents. So we got him signed, and it was a few days later. I was trying to get the buyer to sign, sent everything via DocuSign, didn't view it, didn't open it. I'm calling the agent, what's going on? And so the buyer was basically MIA. He wasn't responding to emails, phone calls again.
Crazy.
Yeah. And so the seller called and wanted to cancel the transaction and wanted to, find out how to get the EMD back. And that's when I had let him know. I said, well, we don't have an EMD. Your agent said he was working on an addendum that was going to waive that. So it just came with the closing funds. Oh, that big red flags. I mean, the seller was
livid.
Absolutely. I mean, with me, with the buyer, with the agent, with everybody.
Because it made it look like you were working for the agent.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we're the neutral third party. I'm at the benefit of everybody. I want to make sure everybody's taken care of and protected. And so in this situation, I let the agent know what was going on. The seller ended up canceling, ended up letting the agent go, and went with another agent and sold the house to another buyer eventually.
Crazy.
Yeah. I did some research also on the buyer because after this happened, I was like, this is
Margaret
sketchy.
P.I.
Here we go
showing
again.
up in her blue Ferrari.
So I did some research and I found, the buyer's names in different states with fraud cases.
Okay.
So I probably should have done that first, or the agent should have. But, either way, it was a sketchy situation.
Man, that's horrible.
Yeah. And now I'm very leery when I have an agent representing both sides. Now I want to make sure that the buyer and seller are both aware of what's going on as well.
You bring up a good point, though, about the EMDs. Like, there's a lot of misconception around how that works. Most sellers think it's like non-refundable. If they back out, I'm getting my money. And that's not at all the case. What ends up actually happening is, it has to be released and it has to be approved by both the buyers and the sellers, right? In order for that EMD to be released to whoever. Mm-hmm. If it's not approved by both parties, what happens to it?
It can go to litigation. So you guys on your side, the agents would have to take care of that. And we'll hold the money in escrow until we have approval from either an attorney or, again, from the buyers and sellers confirming that, it can be released and who it needs to be released to. Yeah,
because we were working with an investor? This was a property out in Antioch. It was like a one-off. They just knew us and they wanted us to represent them on the sale. And he would not release the buyer's deposit because the buyer had gone so far, like they wasted his time, and so he was being kind of spiteful, and he would not sign the release. And then we circled back a couple of years later, and he had still not signed the release, and it was like for $5,000. And so they were like, "Do we go the legal route because it's not a whole lot of money, and we don't have?" It was like a first-time home buyer. It was a rough situation for the buyer, but I just thought that was a little bit spiteful that he wouldn't even just
release it.
We sold the house to somebody else, and he still would not sign the release.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's just mean.
Yeah, it is. That's when you guys have to get involved with your attorneys.
Oh gosh.
We're just here holding the money.
Man, I used to be I'm still terrified of attorneys, but it's the more you deal with them, the less scary they are.
Absolutely.
So, anyways, and
they're learn their language.
And they're good people too.
Absolutely.
Some of them aren't, but some of them are.
Right.
So you got
it's everywhere.
But hey, so we've been telling some scary stories. Oh, one last thing too. Something that's really great that I love that Chicago does is if the address, like if the seller's address, their mailing address is different than the physical address, there's some special security checks to avoid fraud that you go through. Would you mind explaining like how you send that stuff out?
Yeah, well, I think a lot of title companies are doing that now. I'm trying to sell them
on Chicago.
I'm sorry. I'm just, because of all the fraud that's going on.
It's a problem.
It's protection.
Yeah, I've heard that there are folks that are going and stealing titles.
Yes.
Title theft.
Yes, that is correct. This is why we do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So the situation is if the seller has a different address from the property address on the tax records, and the property is free and clear, so they don't have any liens on title, then we send out a letter to that address to the seller to confirm that they are actually selling the property. So I've had sellers call in and say, hey, I'm not selling this property. In the past.
Really?
And, absolutely. Yeah. I don't know who signed the contract. I don't know why somebody's opening escrow on this, but that's why we do it. And then also with Chicago, we have to do right before closing or at the end of the transaction, the seller has to go onto our program online and submit a copy of their ID and take a picture of themselves to confirm a match.
That's smart.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because it's happening.
It's everywhere.
Yeah, it's
these free and clear properties. People are trying to get out from under people.
And so, if before title companies were doing this, before these checks were in place, they could show up with a fake ID and sign it over to themselves. And now they're technically the legal holder of this home, and the owner of that home wouldn't even know that unless they went to refinance or sell the home.
Exactly.
They're not even aware that it's been transferred out of their name.
Yeah.
Horrible stuff. It
is scary.
But there's some good stuff too, right?
There are, yes.
You love your job. You've been doing it, 20 years.
Yeah.
Do you have any fun stories, like good stories about, hey, we helped these people and it all ended well?
Absolutely.
All right. What do you got?
Yeah. So I have one it's another cash sale. And both buyers and sellers were in their 70s or 80s. The property was $1 million property,
Wow.
Locally here in Granite Bay area. And the buyers had come in with their earnest money deposit. They're old school, so they brought in a check and they wanted to sit and talk, which I love doing. And so we got to talking and found out that both buyers were recent cancer survivors.
Oh, wow.
I mean, like I said, they're in their 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
So, and also come to find out that the Mrs. buyer it was her first home purchase. Like new home purchase, new appliances, nice and clean, new everything in a nice area. And she was just so ecstatic, and just the light in her eyes and how she talked. And it was just like, I have chills right now just thinking about it. Like it's one of the best stories. And then also, I talked to the sellers, and they had relations, or they had family members that knew the buyers that were also cancer survivors. So I think that kind of helped with the offer.
Yeah, because it wasn't the offer lower.
Yeah, so that's what it is the buyers came in lower because they couldn't afford, what they were asking. And because of the story, and I think the relationship, that the sellers were like, yes, you guys deserve this home. And it was just, like I said, I tingle just thinking about it. They were some amazing people.
So, and you got to be a part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I got to make them happy.
Yeah. That was not a situation where everybody's mad at Margaret.
Yeah. Everybody
happy.
loved me.
Yeah, there you go. I don't know why they wouldn't love you anyways. I don't understand people get mad at you, but anyways.
They got to blame somebody, like
there
you
you
said.
go. They got to have somebody to blame.
I'll take the fall.
So Margaret is technically, you work for Chicago Title. You work with any realtors, right? Or if you just want to go directly to the title company, maybe you have experience and you're not working with a real estate agent, they can reach out to you, and contract you directly.
Like a for sale by owner?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or investors. Yeah. And so, again, highly recommend Margaret. We've worked with her for years. If you would like to get in contact with her, just go ahead, Google Made for More Realty, check us out, or reach out to us, and we will be able to get you in contact with Margaret. So thank you so much for being on this show. It was a pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
Real quick, before we get back to the show, if you're looking to sell your home, but you want to do it fast, easy, simple, and want to get the most money possible, reach out to Johnny Jennings with Made for More Realty. Listen to this. They'll get you at least 3 cash offers on your home in as-is condition. That's right. No need to do showings or open houses or stagings or organizing or none of those repairs. 3 cash offers on your home in as-is condition. Just reach out to Johnny Jennings and Made for More Realty.